here we are at Shiliamtoma. Now, this site was one of the objectives of the Plains Miwok with the Battle of Okitausu, in that this site, the Hill Nisenen had been quarrying and producing quartz items for at least 800 years. And to point out, the quartz that was quarried here was an economic value to the Hill Nisenen people. Most people don't think of Indians in this sense, Native Americans, as the industrial aspects. But some of these quartz crystals and tools and such made here or from materials here have been recognized as far east as Denver, Colorado, up on the up as far as north, at least the Oregon-Washington line, perhaps further north, and at least as far south as possibly Tijuana, that you can identify by the geology, by the material, that this is where it was quarried from. Now, this was one of the objectives. The Plains Miwok knew they would find people here. And as I pointed out, the Battle of Okitausu was a paid objective. This was not a blood battle. It was every bit a part of the Napoleonic World War and the need for people to operate the mercury distillation facilities. It was consuming people at a tremendous rate. During the American Civil War, ads were taken out in the San Francisco and the San Jose newspapers. Do you have tuberculosis? Do you have an advanced case of gangrene? Are you dying of cancer? Come to work for us. You can earn a fortune. Well, prior to having that kind of labor pool, you had to find it. And as we pointed out, due to the World War started by Napoleon, and also because of the First Opium War in China, and Shaka Zulu being armed with guns from Bernardo de Silva, the British just didn't have the troops to take over California, even though Governor Vallejo would have been delighted with the British. The British had been deeply involved in Mexican politics, buying silver, in order to facilitate trade with China from the very beginning. This site represents one of the major villages, and as a point of fact, this is the site that Coppa Hembo got his name. Hill Nisenen and Washoe children alike, both cultures being very, very similar and quite compatible, a child was not born with the name that would carry through their whole life. Their name would be an adaptation from events that had occurred during their life. This village was where Coppa Hembo's parents lived at the time that he was a teenager. Now apparently he was coming back from Nopachitotoma and Hikikatoma, coming across the Rock Creek Canyon and the Mosquito Creek area with two friends, and they were attacked by a grizzly bear. Now the two friends saw him being grabbed. He managed to get 2 arrows into the bear before the bear got him and shook him, basically like you see a dog shake a rat or a rabbit. And they left him for dead. They believed he was dead. Well, the next day, this young man came up into the village here wearing the hide of that grizzly bear. Now, while this is a black bear hide, this is my son Brian, if you was to put the hide of the bear like this, it'd be a pretty good warm thing to wear through the night. Now, the point of it is, the Hill Nisenen had 2 names. Coppa was a grizzly bear. Pano was a black bear. Coppa Hembo means grizzly bear killer, because he had been able to actually bring down a grizzly bear and came up wearing the hide. The people in the village believed he was a spirit. The 2 men had come, 2 friends had come up, they said, he was dead, the bear was shaking him, there was no point to stand there, we'd have just been attacked by the grizzly bear. But the fact that he came in the next day wearing that bear's hide, and for the rest of his life would wear the scars from this mauling, gives him that name of Coppa Hembo. So there's no family of Hembo or things like that. It was a name given because of the deeds of the individual. And this probably started him. Like I said in one of our earlier things, his mother was Washoe. And Hembo is not a Hill Nisenen word. It is a Washoe word. Many of these people are a combination of the two tribes. And his coming back from the dead and being able to bring down a grizzly bear single-handed set him apart from his peers. Also probably set him apart on his white blood cell count, must have been off the charts. This is before antibiotics, folks. So while Coppa Hembo actually got his name here from surviving a grizzly bear mauling, later this was the first village to send warriors down after the observers saw the Miwok raiding party coming. And the force from Shilimtom was the screening force. They would alert other warriors and other groups as they came, here's where they are, compounding onto the battle. And when Coppa Hembo arrived, Tecumbo was Captain Juan, which is the Hill Nisenen Hook, or chief, out of Nopachita-Toma. He was kind of co-in charge, or of about the equivalent rank. And he should have hereditarily become the chief. He died in this battle. His body was carried back, and Coppa Hembo came to command this battle. He was the commander of it from the Hill Nisenen Washoe point of view. And this leadership would continue through. He would, like I said, continue to be then the primary hook after the death of Captain Juan up to 1898. And many of the other things behind him we've explained in other programs. Getting his people vaccinated against smallpox, getting the first schools built. He comes from a very old culture. We tend to think Stone Age, we go, it's not permanent. This site, we know, was quarried for at least 800 years. If you look on this, this is one of the few sites where you'll actually have pure quartz with the grinding rocks for processing it. However, they had a great appreciation for the quartz crystals, and different sites here, they had started grinding and they come across the quartz crystals and they would stop rather than continuing on and disfiguring or crushing the quartz crystals. The water by an artesian well up here would trickle down across the face of this rock. In every essence, this is a kitchen, it's a food processing center. So here we are in the kitchen, and just showing we don't know. There's no way of really knowing, but to say this water hole, washing your hands, in all likelihood, and of course you also have to leach the acorns for the tannic acid. You have really a unique quartz outcropping. You have food, you have the winter range for the migratory deer herd, you have white oak, you had at least 3 species of bunch grass imported, brought up, that was much like wheat that you could process in these. Water was essential. This was a major village, major town, while today you might say, oh, you're out in the middle of nowhere. Well, this is the middle of everywhere at the time, and it's a very large part of it, before I fall off into the hole. But to give a little bit better of appreciation, this is where a lot of things were happening, and they had happened. For 800 years they'd been happening. Coppa Hembo, the Hill Nisenen, the Washoe. We realized the Washoe were probably some of the very first people to ever actually settle in the Sierra Nevadas, at least 9,000 years ago. The Hill Nisenen, perhaps 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The Miwok considerably later. The Paiute really within the last 1,000 years had started moving into the Great Basin on the other side. These are very long cultures. They were here a very long time. As a state, this village was probably around, at the time of the Roman Empire, into that session. To believe these people as being ignorant because they're the, quote, Stone Age, no. Given what you have here, you have biochemical technology, you have a tremendous understanding of how to work what you have in this region. There isn't any copper deposits, you don't have iron deposits, but what they had, highly intelligent individuals, highly intelligent people, and what they made of this. And that we have really in Coppa Hembo an example of someone that was able to make the jump from this to modern American society and was very successful in it.